I do not enjoy killing AFK ships. Anytime I'm fighting someone just floating there in space, it always bums me out a little. Why? Because there's no challenge, no drama, no adrenaline. Because when I fight another player, I need to see them struggle. I want to look deep into their soul as I slowly tick down their HP and watch the hope leak out of every desperate button push and attempt to warp away until the fire consumes them in a blaze of glorious, inevitable defeat. I mean, excuse me for having a hobby, am I right? Hello pilots, and welcome back to another Eve Echoes video. I'm Gromeyer, and I'm going to be going over a few things that have come up lately just in the community as a whole. We won't be doing a whole lot of PvP in this video, but I am going to be doing a lot of discussions about PvP in general and how it relates to the overall gameplay of Eve Echoes. Now, I'm not sure exactly how long this has existed. Maybe it's been from the beginning of the game in general, but there seems to be a rift rising between the players who really enjoy PvP and like to hunt and fight other people in the game, and people who just want to casually play the game out in nullsec, grind out the rats, maybe mine AFK or AI rat with their nanocore. And whether it's in my comment section on my YouTube videos or on Reddit, I have been noticing more and more comments pop up about how PvPers are not playing the game in a nice way or the right way. And I'm not really sure where that comes from, considering this is a PvP game. But a big part of a lot of this animosity that's going on right now is that the devs are making some changes to how the local list is being run out in nullsec. Now, if you've been playing out in nullsec or playing Eve Echoes for any period of time, I would say 6 months or more, you probably already have a good idea of what's going on out there that's causing all this drama. A lot of it has to stem from the pod cameras that are at every single gate out in nullsec, basically watching the local list and being able to report back either automatically to Discord servers or having somebody be able to report back to Alliance chat of every single player's movements and locations. Now, what's funny about this is that we used to have these things, these pods out there, used to just be cloaked up ships. Fuel was not required to cloak before, and so people used to just have cloaked ships at every single gate so that they would be able to report back activities. And you couldn't kill these things and take down those cameras, so to speak. Well, the devs went ahead and made a change so that now it costs fuel in order to stay cloaked. So everybody started switching from cloaked up ships on gates to pods on gates. And that's because when you're in a pod, it doesn't cost you anything to lose it. It's just automatically going to go back to its home base when it's destroyed. So some groups have been setting up pod cameras, which is basically a bookmark out off the gate, maybe about 800 to 1,000 kilometers off the gate, something that's kind of hard to get to through generic flying, and being able to just watch the system. And if you do happen to destroy that pod, they have a system set up already to automatically warp back to that bookmark without actually having to be at their computer or actively playing. So that's one problem in and of itself. It's just automatic warping back to the thing and automatic scripts set up for the pods to just warp back even if you do destroy those cameras and take them down. They're not down for very long. They hit the base, they hit the citadel that they're docked in, automatically warp back to that bookmark to watch the gate again. The second problem that this is causing is that most of those pods are just alpha tunes. They aren't required to spend any money on the game. All you have to do is have a name, email, and register an account, a free account, and you can just put a pod there and it'll automatically send notifications to people's discords so that they'll know when a ship is coming, an enemy is coming 2-3 jumps away, and gives them so much time to dock up and be safe with their ships. So recently on the Eve Echoes Discord, developer Cloud had put up a message saying that they're going to start making some changes to the way that the local list operates, especially when it relates to alpha clones, people who are not paying for at least that basic omega for Eve Echoes. So the changes that they're announcing at this time, which is kind of a preview of this update, is going to be 1, when piloting a capsule, the easy lock list and overview will no longer display any capsular ships. So kind of makes sense. There's no reason for you to target anything on your overview. You're in a pod, you can't do anything anyway because you have no weapon systems attached. You might as well not be able to see it at all. The second bullet point that Cloud mentioned is that in nullsec solar systems, alpha clones will be prohibited from viewing the local personnel list. Now, this is the big one that starts to get a little bit iffy with some people. What this is doing is that it's taking all of those alpha clones, people that are not really paying for basic or standard omega, and they're not giving them access to the local list in general. Again, for me, this is perfectly fine change. This takes it so that you can't just get a free account and have it watch the gate next door for you. You're not going to be able to just load up a pod, send it into nullsec, and check out the system and know who's in that system and when they're entering and exiting. Now, in the patch notes, those are the two things that have already taken place in game. Those are the two that they've implemented as of Wednesday. And I will say that as of Wednesday morning until Thursday morning, I did see a spike of about 1 million per Plex on the in-game market. So it seemed like more people were trying to buy up Plex so that they could get that basic Omega and keep those pod cameras working. Whether it will continue to spike or will continue to stay high because of this change, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But for the moment, it does look like it went back down around Thursday afternoon. So we should be kind of evening out at this point. Now, the big change that everyone has been kind of throwing a fit over is the third bullet point, and that hasn't taken place in-game yet, but they did say in the patch notes that these were the preliminary changes that they were going to make, and they are going to have more changes coming soon. So the third bullet point could be the thing that's implemented next patch or some patch in the near future. And that states that in nullsec solar systems, while docked at a station or citadel, players will be unable to view the local personnel list. And this is huge. This is not just for alpha players. This is not just for pods. This is any player while docked in a nullsec station cannot see who's in local. This, in my opinion, is an amazing change and something that's going to drastically impact the game. They haven't put it in the game yet. I just want to reiterate that. It's not in the game yet, but it is something that people are really paying attention to, especially PvEers and miners who want to know if there's an enemy in the system before they undock. So what we have here is kind of a compromise that the devs are doing from all the PvPers shouting, we want no local list at all. We don't want anybody, even if they're undocked, to know we're in the system unless they scan us down. That's the PvPers extreme. And they're cutting it in half and saying that if you are docked up, you don't have a local list. To me, that makes a lot of sense. But I am a PvPer at heart. It's what I spend most of my time doing. So I can also see the PvEers aspect of this, where they're just so afraid to undock and lose their ship. Nobody wants to lose their stuff when they're playing in this game, because this is a full loot game. Well, semi-full loot game, not everything drops, and you can claim your ship back with insurance, but you get the idea. You don't want to lose your assets because of lack of intel that the game no longer provides. I get that. However, what I want everybody who's panicking to keep in mind is that even if you undock and there's a player sitting right outside your citadel with a bubble on the citadel, you can just dock back up. There's a timer before you can even be attacked or targeted and locked down. So you don't have to worry if you undock and there's somebody right there or in your system, because that local list will pop up once you undock. You can just redock back up, and it's not a huge deal, and you won't lose your ship for having that happen. Now, what needs to be kept in mind also is that the reason why these changes are being implemented is because of botting and scripting activities that are going on rampant throughout nullsec. I have showcased this happening in my video. Other YouTubers have showcased this happening in their videos. It is well known that people are using bot cameras to Discord link notifications using the local list in order for ships to automatically warp back to safety when things are seen in the local list. So this is the developer's way of subtly, slowly trying to combat that problem with bots and scripters. Now, this has, again, caused kind of an uproar on Reddit, specifically the Eve Echoes Reddit. People have been saying these changes are no good, PvPers are getting too much advantage, we can't keep our ship safe, etc., etc. Those kind of bullet points have been being brought up on Reddit. But what I want to do now is I'm going to put up two videos side by side on the screen. And I want you to watch how hard it is for a PvPer who is roaming for a target to actually catch somebody who is ratting or mining, okay? So the first video I'm going to show on the left-hand screen is going to be me in my recent video trying to catch like an APOC Navy who happened to be ratting. And you're going to see how much time it takes for me to actually warp when I enter the zone, enter that local list, to when I actually can get a bubble on top of the target. The second video you'll see on the right hand side of the screen is going to be me and my Annihilator, also a ratting battleship, and I'm going to be in a high-sec system just watching the local list. And as soon as a neutral or a red enters the system, I'm going to hit that autopilot back to the station. And you're going to see the time difference and how safe it is to actually rat if you're watching that local list. Alright, we'll start it in 3, 2, 1.
Autopilot engaged. Warp drive active.
And there, my Annihilator has successfully warped off, which means that if a bubble didn't go up before I started my warp, it can't stop me. The target can't get to me to lock me down before I dock, and I'm perfectly safe because, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, my Fiend hasn't even reached the anomaly before I dock up in the base. That's not even factoring in the fact that I started the second video when I scanned, not when I entered the local list, which is about an 8-second difference. It's also not factoring in the fact that you can fit inertia stabilizers to your ship in order to warp away even faster. So that's just the basic time difference it is if you're paying attention, and how easy it is to keep your ship safe if you're not AFK. So if you didn't catch that the first time, rewind, watch that again, and you'll understand why hunters are having such a difficult time catching players. All they have to do is watch that local list, and as soon as that person's name hits that local list, you warp back to base. And you're completely immune once you're docked up. So it is near impossible to actually get on top of another target that you have no idea where they are in the system, because you have to scan them before they even start their warp off. So this is why I, as a hunter, as a PvP player, get so frustrated when people say all you're doing is taking out AFK players. Guess what? Because of the local list in nullsec, that's all that's left. That's all that I can get to. Nobody is going to hang around and wait for me to warp to them knowing that I just entered the system, because most people fit themselves glass cannon when they're ratting or when they're mining. They're just trying to get away as fast as possible. And that's totally fine. That's what you're supposed to do as a ratter. That's what you're supposed to do as a miner. But it makes being a PvP player impossible. You can't do it. And that's the reason why everybody has been doing log off traps and tricks that everybody's been complaining about. Why are they logging off in the system and, being able to just log out with absolute immunity, or filamenting out as soon as I dock up and try to reship? It's because you got away. We got to move on to the next system. You've already reported your local intel that we've entered, and now we've got an entire alliance knowing exactly where we are and sometimes even what ship we're in. So let me just take this time. I'm going to put up a couple of comments that I've gotten and the reason why I'm kind of so fired up and on this topic. Craig Boy on the Eve Echoes Reddit made a point that Marzios or Vindicators that are hunting solo are just looking for AFK players. That's not true. That's just the only ones that we can actually tackle. If a hunter enters a system and scans it and nobody is there once they reach the anomaly or the mining asteroid belt that they went to because they warped away, what do they expect us to do? We either move to the next system, we filament out because we've already hit the intel list, or we'd log out in open space and hope to catch somebody off guard later on. Improvement Bubbly says no one really wants good fights, only kill mails. Again, this is super off base. We are not looking for AFK ships. We are not looking for easy kills. We are looking to have fun. PvPers go out there to have fun and play the game in the way that they enjoy it. Yes, does that come at your expense? Does it hurt you in the long run if you get caught? Absolutely, but this is the PvPer's way of having fun. We aren't out there making ISK by getting kill mails. Nobody really is handing out a PPK anymore in this game. You've seen it in my videos if you ever watch my channel. Most of the drops that come from these ships that we kill, AFK or not, are not worth the amount that we're putting into our ship to go out there and try and risk ourselves. PvPers, Solo hunters and players who play the game like me, like you've seen in my videos, are only out there for fun. That is why we're doing it. It's funner for us. I don't want to be sitting and ratting NPCs for an hour at a time getting bounty ticks. I don't want to be staring at the screen while lasers shoot space rocks. I have done that. I've been through those phases, and now I'm at the point where I actually need a challenge. I'm looking for players to engage me, but it's so hard to find active players. And EMBZ says that my opinion doesn't even matter because all I do is run away when ships start shooting back. Gosh, I cannot tell you how freaking wrong that is, and I didn't want to reply to it on Reddit because a wall of text usually does nobody good, but I have to explain myself here. So, first of all, let me just say this. What is a player's number one job when they're undocked in nullsec? It's to stay alive. And you do that by not putting yourself in situations in which you know you will lose. You don't rat AFK because you know you will be killed. You don't mine in a ship that has no defense because you know it'll be too fast to die before anybody comes and helps you. And you don't engage multiple players in one ship if you have absolutely no chance of beating them. It makes no sense. So that comment honestly, it just really gets to me because it's like you have no idea how the game is actually played. When it comes to my content and when it comes to my ships, I am an open book. I have showcased my fittings on multiple occasions in many videos. Everybody knows I almost always fit high offense. And what happens when you're in an offensive glass cannon ship? You can't take more than one ship at a time. So yes, if I know that there's 2 or 3 people coming after me, I'm gonna run away. If I know that there's one person coming after me that I have a bad matchup against, I'm gonna run away. Because odds are, even if I start fighting that one player, there's already another one on its way to have me outmatched. And I'm risking my ship the longer I stay. Not only am I risking my ship, my in-game resources, my own personal money that I've spent on the game, if I lose some of these things, I'm risking my time. This game is a lot about time. How much time does it take to get from Jita, where you just built your ship, out into nullsec? How much time is it going to take you to farm more ISK until you're able to rebuy another ship hull that you lost? So if I die, not only have I lost resources, I've lost time, and that is the hardest thing to lose. And I want to make something very clear to all the PvEers and all the miners and everybody who says that they reship and try to engage in PvPers that come into their territory. Players who do this game in nullsec for PvP content, like myself, solo players or small fleet players, are ambush predators. Almost all of our victories come because we have caught you off guard. And as soon as you or more of your alliance is aware, our odds of dying increase dramatically. So the longer that we hang around in your presence, the longer that we risk losing our time and our money investments. And I've already showcased how hard it is to actually catch somebody while they're ratting or mining in a ship, because you have to scan them down, and that local list is going to basically prevent you from getting to them and give them permanent immunity if they just warp back to a base. This is why hunters have had to do things like log-off traps, where they'll log outside of your citadel and log back in like later, like an hour or two later when people are off guard, because we are ambush predators. It's the only way we can catch anything. And if we could just fix the fact that the local list makes it impossible to catch anyone, we wouldn't have to do log-out traps. We wouldn't have to be risking ourselves as much, and we could engage in more fights. And I could also counter and say, if you wouldn't warp away from that anomaly while you were ratting, if you would just fit more defensively so that you could actually fight back, we would actually get fights that are entertaining for both sides. But the common denominator here is that every time people are out there hunting, the first thing that people do with their ships is warp back to Citadel, dock up, and have absolute immunity. And there's no way to catch them. So again, for anybody who's saying that, oh, I have to dock up so that I could refit my ship or hop into something else that's more suited to PvP, make your ratting ship able to PvP. Give yourself some spines. Make yourself a porcupine and not a fawn, okay? You don't have to run away every time. You can be in an Abaddon or an Apoc Striker and fit too large neutralizers to mess up any frigates who try to tackle you. You can be in a drone battleship and have small and medium-sized drones in your inventory to switch to while you're out in space. You don't have to be in a glass cannon fit every time. Hell, you guys can fit warp stability so that we couldn't tackle you without a bubble anyway. I mean, there's just so many ways that ratters and miners have to protect themselves that don't even include running away. And then to have the community coming back at PvPers saying, you don't want a real fight, you just run away whenever somebody's not AFK, it's absolutely ridiculous because you're running away every time. You're the ones that are docking up. The PvPers are out there looking for content, looking to have fun, looking for a challenge, and nobody's giving it to them because they just want to keep their assets safe and expect the PvPers to risk their assets when the PvPers are ready to fight, of course. Look, the first year I played this game, I was a miner. I was in a Covetor 2 for about a year, way before Orcas even came out. I never lost a Covetor 2. The only time I lost a Covetor 2 was when I hung around inside a mining fleet and expected us all to be able to take on that daredevil, and he picked me off and then warped away. That's the only time I ever lost because it's so easy to keep your ship safe. After I was a miner, I went and did PvE. I was in a ratting battleship up close to the mobs where they could actually scramble you, and I was still able to get away. I was never killed, never tackled, because the local list is so overpowered of a tool to keep players safe. So, yes, the devs have made some changes so that the local list is no longer as impactful in the game's overall mechanics of PvP. Yes, they've taken it away from alpha players, and yes, they may take it away from even basic and standard Omega players once they're docked at a later time. These are all adjustments that need to be made in order for the health of the game to survive, because please remember, EVE Echoes is a PvP game. It's a PvP sandbox game, and the more that we kind of implement tools like automatic reports back to Discord or automatic warp back using scripts, the less PvP dies in the game and the more it just becomes a money-making simulator. So, why am I going on for 20-25 minutes about this? Well, I think that this is a very important topic that we need to cover, especially for the future of this game that we enjoy. Look, this is a PvP open world sandbox with full loot when you're in nullsec. It's the same as Albion Online. It's the same thing if you play on a hardcore MMO on a computer. When you're in danger zones, the game warns you, hey, you're in a dangerous territory. You might lose your stuff. You should protect yourself. So nobody should be complaining when they run the risk of losing their stuff to another player. It's just not, it's already built into the game. I don't understand where all of that vitriol is coming for these PvP hunters who are out here looking for fun. I'll put this in another perspective, okay? As soon as you undock in nullsec, you are either predator or you are prey. And if you are prey, you need to have defenses built in to be able to get yourself out of dangerous situations, okay? Like I gave the example earlier, you can be a deer and you can just run away, which is fine. That's part of the game. You can be a porcupine and you can actually fight back if something tries to take you out. But don't be mad when a pack of wolves come and try to get a meal. You are either predator or you are prey. I spent a lot of my Lazarus units about 2 years ago respecking so that I could be a Rorqual pilot. And I flew that for about a week before I realized I'm floating out there as prey. Yes, I have a lot of defenses. Yes, I can call for help and backup, but I don't like putting myself in the role of prey. So I took on the role of hunter. That's just my personal preference. And if you don't mind being prey, don't complain about it. Just accept it. That's what you are. And animals got to eat, okay? Now, do I think that these are all the changes that need to take place in order to make the game a better place? No. Personally, I think we should remove the entire local list from nullsec. Now, I understand that that's kind of an exaggerated stance to take, and it hurts a large portion of the game who needs that local list in order to survive. Okay, let's make a concession. Let's add a delay to the local list. If we can add a 10-second delay to when players appear in the zone, it actually gives people time to scan somebody down and start their warp to them before they warp off. So people will still be able to keep their local list, but there will be an actual loading delay so that you don't appear in the system before you even load it into the system and be able to hit that scan. What I would like to see is some structures developed for the SOV systems, so you actually have to have a scanning structure in place in order to have a local list. It makes sense for the economy of the game. It makes sense for people to have to make choices. Do I take that mining asteroid structure, or do I take that ratting structure that'll increase my bounty ticks, or do I take the scanning structure that'll keep my ships more safe? I personally am a gamer who likes to have choices and losses. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But having that choice there, I think, is what makes to have an interesting group dynamic, an interesting game, because you never know what you're going to run into. And a lot of people have said if they make these changes, the game population will drop dramatically. Well, I don't know what else to tell you, man. This game, Eve Echoes, is a PvP game. It's meant so that when you go into the more dangerous areas to make more money, you are more at risk. You can't have zero risk in the most dangerous space in the game. It makes zero sense. They should keep the local list in low sec, so it's a safer place to rat and mine, but remove it or limit it severely in null sec, because it's a more dangerous area where you can make more money. It's logical to me. I don't understand why this is even an argument. And I think that one of the reasons why this is such a big deal is because people have been playing this game for almost 5 years, and they've gotten so used to being almost 100% safe and being able to make twice as much as they can in low sec that nobody wants to go backwards. Nobody wants to move backwards in their income generation. Well, I hope that at some point those types of players can kind of reflect and look at why these changes are being implemented. This game has a huge botting and scripting issue where large quantities of players and groups are botting their accounts and making unlimited in-game currency. And these changes to the local list need to take place because they are using that local list in order to enable their scripts. If we take away the local list, or at least limit it severely, then those scripts have to either be changed or go away or work on a different wavelength. But it makes the danger zone more dangerous again, and makes it so that people can't just set up automatic farms. Whew. Okay. I've gotten that all off my chest. I've said my piece. If you have any comments or something you want to shoot back to me, go ahead and put it in my comment section. Or let's go over to the Eve Echoes Reddit and let's actually discuss it as a community. There are middle grounds to every issue. We don't have to take away the local list completely. We don't have to do any of that. But also, we're not devs, right? So we don't actually have a choice. But we do have a voice. And what I want people to start doing is using their voice as a community to come together and kind of increase the playability of this game. Let's start enhancing it and making it better, and stop just accepting the fact that it's falling into the trash. Thankfully, the devs, I think, are looking into different ways that we can use to combat a lot of these botting and scripting behaviors that are going out in nullsec, and unfortunately, that is going to take away from some players' experiences. However, I think for the long-term health of the game, this is a very needed change to the nullsec system. And the more things that we can add or change the game to make it a more dangerous and exhilarating play experience, to keep people active and on their toes, I think will be a more rewarding play experience for everyone in the long term. But that's all I got for this one. If you like the content, go ahead and subscribe, leave me a like, and I will catch you in the next Growmeyer Games video.